Hi everyone, Tony Tonkin here, and welcome to my humble little show again. To talk about a subject which, of course, like all of the subjects I talk about, are subjects that interest me. Comments about what's happening in politics and other areas of our lives, and being able to attempt to convey my view around some of these very important issues. To me, anyway. Now, we have, as many of you in Australia are aware, perhaps not all of you, because perhaps you've been doing your Rip Van Winkle over the last couple of weeks, but we do have a new government with a political party that hasn't been in government for nearly a decade. So with that new government comes a lot of possibilities, distinct possibilities, some good, some not so good perhaps, but yet we have to wait and see because it is also new. However, I always like to keep an eye open for issues which I think may potentially be damaging or inflicting some form of harm upon our community. And I came upon one the other day which was not unpredictable, but which certainly made me think about where we stand around certain issues such as our wokeness, and I wish to do a video on that because I have no idea what wokeness means, or our way we're taught, the way we're educated, the objections that the right wing would have to certain views that most of us just see as normal ways of thinking, particularly critical thinking. So I came upon this clip with Dutton talking to Andrew Bolt. Now Dutton is our blessed leader of the Liberal Party, and there have been some concerns about his conservativeness and also about the position in which he wishes to take the Liberal Party in order to show their difference from the Labor Party in particular. We already know where they sit around the Greens, but they certainly are trying to move further and further to the right, as I would have predicted, and I think there's an example of just how far to the right they wish to go. And does going to the right mean that you're going to invent, reinvent, or regurgitate culture wars that have been instigated in other countries, particularly in the United States? Well, the answer to that question actually is yes. They are going to do that, and there was the first indication of that from an interview that Bolt had with Dutton last week. So I just wish to play a segment of that to you, and then we will discuss its implications, and I'll ask you as to what you think. So here's Bolt. So it appeared actually on Crikey's webpage. There is a Twitter video, I think is where this came from. But I'll play it from their page because they do quote what Dutton says here, and I'll just refer to that at the end of the video. But anyway, this is the conversation that they have. Now, I want you to be aware of the lead-in question that Bolt places to Dutton. He actually plays Dutton, which is what Andrew Bolt does. He plays Dutton in a position which would have been very hard for Dutton to have backed away from. And in doing so, Dutton tended to have to answer the question in the way Bolt would have liked. But I'm assuming Dutton would have known that before he got there. However, here he is responding to, well, you hear the question and then he responds to it.
Children crying with fear about the end of the world. On camera, we've seen this. Would you, for instance, point out, look, hang on, guys, our dams are actually filling, they're not emptying, our crops are getting bigger, not smaller, and we've never been less likely to die in a climate catastrophe. Are you going to be the voice that says, look at the science, it's not the climate crisis that a lot of people are saying?
Well, Andrew, I mean, if it was limited just to environmental issues or just to climate change, then it would be bad enough, the extremism of some of the teachers and the language that they use, the approach that they take, but it's across a broad range of public policy areas. And I think the national curriculum, the values argument is going to be one of the big debates over this parliament. And I think you will see a big difference between the policies that we take to the next election compared to what Labor will. Labor's completely and utterly dominated by the union movement, as we know.
What he was saying is, and it was just mentioned below this, and I think this is the point that's important, if the teaching was limited to just environment issues or just to climate change, it would be bad enough. But the extremism of some of the teachers, the language that they use, the approach they take, it's across a broad range of policy issues. So in effect, what Dutton is trying to say is that they're going to challenge some of the more the less conservative views that are espoused. Now, some of those are likely to be, and as the issue around Indigenous issues being heard, and the Uluru Statement of the Heart, once that becomes more dominant in our community, I think we're going to hear more and more of these objections, particularly around the way First Nations people were treated in this country and the amount of massacres that occurred as an effort to be able to wipe them out. So that part of our history as colonials, we don't want to hear. We don't want to admit that our forefathers were the most atrocious individuals on the face of this planet, and we don't want to hear how we disadvantaged a certain group of people. But the reality is that they're the facts. However, those facts, given the way this government is likely to think, the opposition is likely to think, is, and they know that will fit with the right wing of the party. So they're going to fight those issues or present those issues as being primary issues. So they're going to insist that at some particular point that we don't talk about race, the way we treated our First Nations people, and the way we have behaved in the past, that they wanted to revert to alternate facts, I guess, whatever they might be. And that is the history of the white man and how they developed this country through producing or exporting a lot of slave labour in terms of convicts. So this is the way that they're going to start looking at separating themselves from the left wing. They're going to move further and further now to the right. Now in this statement, he says that if the teaching was limited to just environment issues or just to climate change, it would be bad enough. So issues around climate change, which we all know is relevant, and that we're all participating in as we speak, and the environment and so forth. If we focus just on that, then that's a bad idea, according to Dutton. So we have a distinct version of how this opposition party is going to move further and further to the right. Now, I suspect that they're not going to garner in this country all that much support, not enough support to win an election, but they will divide us. They will attempt to divide this nation as best as they can, just as it happened in the US, France, Germany and other countries around the world. So this is their intention. I think we need to be wary of what this intention is, and we need to stand up against it, because at every level it's going to present us with conflict that we don't need. There needs to be an acceptance of some of the things that have happened in the past. We need to revisit those issues to make sure that we're not fulfilling those issues or fulfilling those behaviours again. And so it is important that we don't allow this alternate version of the world, according to Dutton and the Liberal Party, become dominant. So thanks everybody. Thanks for being with me. Let me know what you think below. And look, I just need to say that if you're watching this on YouTube, that you subscribe and ring the bell to let yourself know when you want some further notifications. So thanks a lot. Thanks everybody. Take care and look after yourselves, and more importantly, be safe.